It is your Classic Metal Show right here on theclassicmetalshow.com. That was John Corabi, live stuff there from Live 94, One Night in Nashville. That was Misunderstood. And here's a guy that, I don't know if he considers himself to be well understood or misunderstood himself, but he's one of my favorite singers all time. It is John Corabi. John, how are you, man?
I'm all right. How are you?
I am excellent, man. It's a busy time for us Corabi fans. You know, you've got 2 records that are out at the same time, and just lots
guess
going
what,
on.
my friend? It's actually going to be 3 by the end of the year.
Oh, why? What's the third one?
Well, there's a company called Rock Candy Records out of London, England, and they just informed me that they have purchased the rights to the Scream album, and they're re-releasing that with possibly 4 or 5 bonus live tracks from the last show I did with the Scream.
Very cool, man.
So,
wow.
But it's definitely coming this year.
No doubt. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, let's talk about the stuff I can buy today. Let's start with the 94 record, or the Live 94. I did get a chance to see it when you came to Ripper's Tap House here in Cleveland, and it's an amazing. Well, let me start here. I'm sure you hear, like everybody else does, that the album that you did with Motley Crue, people either think it's the greatest thing in the catalog or the worst thing that ever happened. For you, I'm going to assume you're closer to the first half, but talk a little bit about that record for you, as well as for you know, how fans have grown to love that record as time has gone by.
Well, you know, look, I still, still to this day, that record it's still quite polarizing. You know, like you were saying earlier, people either loved it or hated the fact that I was even in the band. You know, but at the end of the day, like, you know, I had a great time with Motley. I'm extremely proud of the record that we did. You know, and I don't really like putting tags on anything. I'm not a big fan of like Grammy Awards and Oscars and, you know what I mean? And like all those award things. And I don't like, even like I see a lot of things that they're like, rate the Motley records. And you know what I mean? It's like, why? You know, like every record that those guys did, it was at a different period of their lives, a different time of their lives. You know, if you don't like it or you do like it or, you know, whatever, it's, you know, but I just don't like, judging things because it's art, you know what I mean? It's to each, you know, to each his own, like whatever that a person's vision is or hearing is when they're listening to something, they're going to, you know what I mean? I'm going to get something out of a record you might despise, and I might think it's the greatest thing on earth. So I don't like judging things, but all I can say is I had an amazing time with Motley. I'm very proud of the record and, you know, because of that record, you know, it's allowed me to do other
right.
rap, and now the Dead Daisies, you know, and still have a solo career. So I've got nothing but great stuff to say about it, you know, and on the other hand, all the people that hate the record, I kind of get it too. You know what I mean? So it is what it is.
Sure. No doubt, man. And so what then made you decide to, you know, take it out of mothballs and take it out yourself and do these live gigs that you did?
You know, to be honest with you, I didn't even realize it. I was out doing shows with my solo band. And it was a weird thing. It was like 2014, and we were out doing shows, and somebody just yelled from the audience, "Happy anniversary," you know, and I was sitting there like honestly perplexed. I'm going, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, happy anniversary, you know what I mean? So I asked the chick, I go, what are you talking about? She goes, oh, today, 20 years ago, your Motley record came out. So we're like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And I mean, we were doing some of the Motley stuff in my sets.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my manager that was like, Motley's getting ready to go back out for their final tour. They're not going to play any of that material. They never have. They never will. It's the 20th anniversary of your record. I think you should go out and do a handful of shows and play that record in its entirety. And I didn't want to do it at first, but after some convincing from my manager, he kind of explained to me, he's like, dude, your tour with Motley Crue wasn't very long at all. You guys kind of canceled the whole tour, came home, and he said, so there's a ton of places in America you guys never got to. And he said, you never went to Canada, Mexico, South America, never went to Europe. There's a majority of the world we didn't play. And he goes, I think people would want to hear what it would have sounded like.
Sure.
So we went out and started doing some shows, but then it started getting to be like, okay, I'm doing the 20th anniversary. It's 21 years now, not 20.
Right.
And I just said, I just wanted to kind of knock it on the head. And so I said, well, let's record one show and hopefully it'll come out okay. And that way, if anybody wants to hear what it would have sounded like or couldn't get to a show the first or second time, at least they can have it. It's available. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It was weird too, because when I was doing the shows, inevitably I would get done, I would play for hour and a half, 2 hours. You said you saw one of the shows.
I did, yeah.
Inevitably, I would play a show, and I would get off stage and go sit at the merch booth or, go sit at the bar to, kind of do a meet and greet. And a lot of people will come over and go, I can't believe you just played the Motley stuff. Why didn't you do any Scream reunion? And I'm like, I can't win. I just, you know what I mean? So I'm like, all right. I'm just going to, I finished out the year. I did some shows into 2015, and I just said, I'm just going to knock it on the head and just record one show for prosperity.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So.
No doubt, man. Well, dude, one thing that is surprising to me, I guess, is that two of the three guys that you worked with in Motley have nothing but high praise for the record, for you, whatever. And then obviously Nicky just keeps trying to distance himself from that record, and to be honest, from anything that he's done with you. He distances himself from Brides of Destruction as well, and it doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, as a fan of yours, I've read everything that you've ever put publicly, and you've never been like, fuck Nicky or whatever. Is there, and you don't have to get into it other than to say, is there or is there not personal beef that just is there somewhere?
Without sounding like an asshole, you're kind of asking the wrong person.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't have any ill will towards Nicky at all. You know what I mean? So, if there is anything, or if he is saying anything.
Hello?
You would need to ask him, because
okay.
I again, like I said, I think you just said it. There's really nothing on my part where I don't think I've ever slagged Nicky or given him any shit about anything. So, not that I recall.
Right.
So it's kind of a one-sided argument. You know what I mean? So honestly, I can't. This is kind of a no BS, statement, but
yeah.
I love the guys. I think Tommy is going to go down in history as one of the greatest drummers to ever sit behind a kit. You know what I mean? He's very musical. Mick, I think, has always been an underrated guitar player. I think Nicky, to Nicky's degree, he's kind of a genius. He kind of came up with the whole vision of the band. he was the main songwriter for pretty much all of the stuff except for the one record that we did.
Right.
You know, he was like the main guy. It was his vision, his thing. And somehow they managed to, you know, right up until the final tour, you know, he kept them on top. You know what I mean? So I've got nothing but great things to say about those guys.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier, being in that band, you know, they can try and erase all they want. You know, at the end of the day, there was two singers in Motley Crue.
Right.
There was Vince for, you know, 98% of the time, and I'm the asterisk. Right. And I'm fine with that, you know, but it's actually helped me, like I said earlier, do Union, Rat, and here I am almost 25 years later with the Dead Daisies in my solo career, and I'm still going strong. So
no doubt,
I got nothing bad to say at all.
I hear you. Well, let's talk about Dead Daisies since you brought them up. New record is called Burn It Down. It is it's everything you would want from anything that you're in, as well as, let's face it, the guys in this band it's one of the most talented bands out there, just guy for guy, you know, individual talents. But yet it doesn't come across like a noodling band at all. It's very rock. It's very, I don't know, Aerosmith. And the thing that I like best about it is that it seems like it's very organic. And not only the songs, but the way you're building it. It seems like you guys you're writing good songs, and then you're touring, and you're just finding listeners, you know, as in an old school kind of way. Is that how you guys envisioned it when you joined the band, or is that just the way it's developing, or what?
No, it's just kind of developing that way, you know. At the end of the day, though, too, like, you know, we don't really have any choices. You know, MTV isn't existent anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, and radio, for the most part, is non-existent for a band like us. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you're kind of going back to relying on, you know, word of mouth. You know, word of mouth, and yeah, we're using Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you know, but to a degree, that's still word of mouth. You know what I mean? It's like we're putting it out there, then the fans are sharing it, and they're posting it and reposting it, and you know, and it's growing. It's working for us, and then we just go out and you know, do videos, and we put them on YouTube, and you know, we're just allowing the fans to just into our life. We're giving them a glimpse, and we're doing things, and it's just everybody's running with it, and it's all a word of mouth grassroots thing, and I love it.
Sure. Now, I've said before, and tell me if I'm crazy for saying this, but Dead Daisies to me sounds like a project where each individual in the band gets to relax a little bit more than you guys ever had the chance to in any of your other major projects. You know, it just seems like it's a more relaxed, at least musically, it's a more relaxed environment instead of trying to play a little bit that sounds like Motley, or trying to play a little that sounds like Whitesnake or Dio, or, you know, or...
Well, you know, that was the thing. Like, we're not, you know, I've had fans, because we usually do like a little signing or a meet and greet after every show.
Sure.
And a lot of the fans are coming up and they're like, you know, hey man, are you ever going to play Hooligans Holiday? I go, I'll play it anytime you want with my solo band.
Right.
Dead Daisies is Dead Daisies. It's completely separate. We don't do any Whitesnake. We don't do any, you know, any of the bands that everybody was in. Like Marco was with Ted Nugent and Thin Lizzy, you know, and, you know, it's, you know, now we may do something from way, 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 way back in their careers, you know, like Whitesnake, whatever, but nothing that Doug wrote, or nothing that Marco wrote, or nothing that I wrote with Motley. And, you know, we just stay out of it, keep it all separate. You know what I mean? And we're just focused on the Dead Daisies, and we're moving, you know, trying to move this thing forward. And, you know, but we all have solo things that we do as well. Like Doug does, you know, his thing, and Marco, God, Marco's the hardest. Like, we will literally tour, and if we have a 3 or 4 week window after the tour, Marco will just continue to tour on his own with his solo band. That guy never stops.
Right.
But you know, we're just keep it separate. You know what I mean? And I think it's better that way. You know, because then if, you know, like Marco's, or, you know, hypothetically, if Hooligan's Holiday would wind up getting a better result or a better, you know what I mean? Or, you know, it's just weird. There's like, we just keep any egos and bullshit out of this thing, and it's just focus on the Daisies.
No doubt, man.
It is very lax.
Yeah.
And then management is awesome. We have great managers that just allow us to just focus on the music.
Excellent.
So it's pretty cool.
No doubt, man. Well, dude, you did have a member change this time with Brian Tichy stepping down and Dean Castronovo jumping into the band. Certainly he's no slouch either. He's an unbelievable talent in his own right. That said, you guys...
Yeah, Dean's insane.
And an insane singer. That's a guy that should just step up and sing, you know, full time, really. But he's a great drummer. He's a great singer. No.
What?
Go ahead.
We're starting rehearsals today.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I can't wait to really dive into getting the harmonies together. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's just going to be awesome having, you know, now we went from me, Marco, and Doug, you know, now we're adding Dean to the mix, and it's just going to be like another really strong voice that we can count on for some of these harmonies and things like that. You know what I mean? It's going to be really cool.
No doubt. Was there any trepidation about bringing him in because of, you know, he's obviously had some very well publicized bad stuff in the last couple of years. Now it seems like he's past it, but you know as well as I do, that's always a dangerous proposition in a band.
You know what? It's kind. Listen, man. You know, it's. There's no guarantees with anything.
True.
You know what I mean? And we sat down. I love Dean. I never worked with him before, but he came in and we sat, and he was like upfront. He was extremely honest about everything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Hey, here's what happened. Here's why it happened. Here's how it happened. Here's how it was resolved. This is what I've done so far. You know what I mean? And he's, you know, I mean, he's got a couple years in now into being completely sober, you know, but there's a couple of guys like that, you know, if I can, I mean, Marco's like 20 years sober, and Marco's like, you know, he'll be the first person to tell you, like, he was out of his mind. You know what I mean? Sure. And, you know, we've all had moments with different things, you know, whether it's drinking or drugs or, you know, whatever, you know. So none of us, you know, is you know, none of us should be living in a glass house. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, you know, Dean came in, he was very cool. He talked with us about everything, talked with our management about everything. He's just like, man, just happy to be here, happy to rock out. We did the album. He's like, he was a joy to work with, and I think he crushed the drums on the record are sick, and I can't wait to get out on the road with him, you know, and we'll just cross whatever bridge when we get to it. You know what I mean? Sure. And it doesn't necessarily mean Dean. Could be any one of us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It could be any one of us.
No doubt.
So,
well, cool, man. Well, dude,
the music isn't the only thing that we're veterans at. Trust me.
I hear you there, man. Well, you mentioned touring. Let's talk about it for a minute. I know you said you're getting ready to do rehearsals, and then you're what? You're going to Europe, and then you have like a big tour in the U.S. in the fall?
Yeah, we're starting in, God, I think we're going to be out, to be honest with you, we're going to be out starting in April. We're going to rehearse here for like a week, and then we're going to rehearse again in Glasgow, Scotland, because we're shipping a gear over, and
Right.
it's probably best to like rehearse for a day or two to make sure all the tubes and everything get there in one piece.
Right.
So we're doing that. We're starting a tour in the UK. Then we're going through Europe. We'll take a little break for like a week or two, and then, and then it's like Japan, South America, back to festivals. Then we come back to America. We're doing like 6 weeks in America.
Right.
And then we're doing South America, and then Japan. It's good. We're going to be out till like mid-December.
And that can never be bad for working musicians, can it?
Well, listen, trust me, you don't want to see me in a white room with a box of Sharpies. If I'm bored, it's going to get ugly. So
very cool, man.
Just calls them as a season, boss.
I hear you. Well, dude, for now, the two albums people should be looking at. One of them is Live 94, One Night in Nashville. That is John Corabi's solo, sorta. And then the other one is, of course, the Dead Daisies, Burn It Down. And John, as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track. Why don't you pick something from Burn It Down and tell us a story about it to wrap this one up?
Let's just go with Rise Up. That's basically the first single. So let's play Rise Up, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just I got to be honest with you. One of the things that just kind of kills me, or I just can't stand to see it anymore, is the divisiveness and the bickering and a lot of the bullshit that I see with, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. People are just mean.
Right.
And, I understand that people have beliefs and they have political viewpoints and all this other stuff, but I think it's gotten to the point where, and I'm not talking about the current presidency. I'm not talking about the last president or the president before that. I'm just seeing it's like gradually getting worse with people, where we're fighting with each other and we're not paying attention to really everything that everybody's doing. I'm not talking about conservatives. I'm not talking about liberals. I'm talking about all politicians.
Right.
They're all getting, and it's not just in America, it's everywhere. Corporations run politics. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
People are getting paid money in Washington to vote a certain way, and it's got nothing to do with the little guy or the blue collar guy or the guys that are out there busting their ass and paying their taxes and not being able to afford health care. And, and all I'm saying in this song, I'm not taking sides with either party. I'm just saying, you know what? We need to stop bickering with each other, and we need to hold all these people in office on both sides of the political spectrum. We need to keep them accountable, and we need to let them know, that we're...
Hello?
You're liberal.
Right.
I think that they just really want this thing. They just want a happy life. They want health insurance for themselves and their family, and just have like a comfortable life, like as stress-free as possible. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I that's the American dream.
No doubt.
House, white picket fence, 2.5 kids, a dog, be able to afford everything, put food on the table, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I think we all want the same thing, but we're so busy bickering with each other. We're not really, and again, I'm not talking about any party in general. I think both parties are as fucking crooked as they can be. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I'm getting crazy right now, but I just think it's time to, you know what? The first three, what is it? The Constitution or the Declaration? One of them. Mm-hmm. First three, we the people.
Yep.
Boom, done.
There you go.
Rise up, kids.
Well, then let's teach them right now. This is the Dead Daisies. It's Rise Up right here on your Classic Metal Show.